We're going to be solving inequalities today. So we solved equations. Last week, Thursday, Friday, that's when there was an equal sign in the problem. Today we're going to solve inequalities, which is if we have a less than sign, less than or equal to, greater than sign, or greater than or equal to. So that's what we'll have in the problem instead of just an equal sign. So a less than sign, here's an example of that. We might have x is less than 2. And if you were to say this out loud, you would literally say x is less than 2. X is less than 2. Less than or equal to symbol. For example, we could say x is less than or equal to -1. And for this one, instead of writing it out how we would say it, I'm going to go ahead and draw a picture of how we would draw that solution on a number line. So if we had 0, and then +2, and then -2, we would draw a circle on -1. And we would say the solution is less than or equal to -1. So if it could equal -1, then we fill in the circle. And if it's all the numbers that are less than -1, then we draw the arrow pointing to the left. Because all the numbers that are less than -1 are more negative than -1. So they're to the left. And you'll notice that when we have our answers written this way, so that the variable's on the left side, then the symbol and the arrow match up. They point the same direction. All right. Greater example, x is greater than 3. We're going to go ahead and draw a picture of this one as well. So let's say we have 0 and 2 and 4, then that would be the 3. And this one does not say it can equal 3, so we would not fill in the circle. And then all the numbers that are bigger than 3 would be like 4, 5, 6, all of that, so we would draw the arrow going this way. And again, if your variable's written on the left side when you write this, then the arrow matches the symbol. They point the same direction. Okay? And then last, greater than or equal to, like x is greater than or equal to 0. If you were to say those words out loud, you would say x is greater than or equal to 0. Have you guys learned about inequalities before? That's old news. Okay. So when you are in the process of solving an inequality, anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, does anyone remember what happens if you're in the middle of solving an inequality and you happen to multiply or divide by a negative? Do you guys remember what happens? It may be. It kind of depends what you're multiplying or dividing by. It's specific to inequalities. This does not happen in equations. Only in inequalities. You have to change the inequality sign. You have to flip or change, it doesn't matter what you put in that blank there, flip or change the inequality symbol. You have to make it go the opposite direction. So that's something specific to inequality symbols. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality symbol. Okay, so we're going to practice that. So if we look at example number 1, Let's say that for these two sides, I wanted to take the m's and I wanted to move them all to the left side of the inequality. How would I move a negative 2m to the left side? You would do the opposite of the sign, right? So you would add the 2m. Add the 2m, okay. So we would have negative 4m and positive 2m gives us what? Negative 2m plus 6 is greater than or equal to 14. And if my m is over here, then I want my numbers to be on the right side. So how do I move a positive 6? I subtract the 6. Okay. So I have a negative 2m. I haven't done any flipping of the inequality symbol yet. I've dealt with positives and negatives, but I haven't divided by a negative yet. That's why I haven't flipped anything. So 14 take away 6 is 8. Okay. And now this is where I'm going to have to do it, because to get the m alone, what do I do with the negative 2? I'm going to divide. So right now, negative 2 and m, they're being multiplied together. So I'm going to have to divide by negative 2 to get that m alone. And since I divided by a negative, I have to take this inequality symbol and I have to flip it the opposite direction. So the m is over here. Positive 8 divided by negative 2, negative 4, good. And that is my answer. And they want me, in the instructions, they ask me to draw the solution on a number line. So I'm going to say this is 0 over here, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 6. So I'm going to put a circle on negative 4. Should I fill in that circle or should I leave it open? Fill it in, so it has an equal to, so I need to fill in that circle. Okay? And then which way should my arrow go? To the left. So this arrow goes to the left, so my arrow is going to go to the left. M is less than negative 4. It's the numbers that are smaller than negative 4. More negative than negative 4. Okay. All right, for number 2, before we can do anything else, we have to get rid of those parentheses. So how do we do that? Distribute. Okay, distribute. So 6 multiplied by m, 6m. 6 multiplied by positive 4, 24. Okay, and then the rest of it I just bring down. Are there any like terms that I can put together over here? The 3m and 6m, but they're on different sides. Okay, the negative 7 and the 24, those are on the same side. So 7 negatives and 24 positives. 17? Okay, so 17, and then we have a 6m. Okay, do you guys want to move the m's over to the left side, or do you guys want to move the m's over to the right side? To the right side? Okay. So if we want to move the m's over to the right side, how do we move a positive 3m? We're going to subtract the 3m. Okay, so subtract the 3m. So negative 1 is less than 17. And then we have 6m take away 3m. 3m, okay. So if we have the m's over here, that means we want to get rid of the 17. How do we get rid of a positive 17? We subtract it, okay? So I'm going to subtract it on the other side. Yeah, so if I have a negative 1 and a negative 17, that makes a negative 18. And if I have a 3 multiplied by an m and I want to get the m alone, I should divide by 3. So m is greater than negative 6. Now, we're not used to the variable being on the right side like that. Every single thing we've talked about so far has the variable on the other side, which means that this is going to confuse us if we try to draw the answer from here. We might draw it wrong. So I'm going to have to rewrite my answer. I'm going to say the m, and then the big part goes towards the m. So I'm going to rewrite this with the big part towards the m. The little part goes to the negative 6, so I'm going to make sure the little part goes to the negative 6, and then this is the answer that I'm going to say is right, and this is the answer I'm going to draw. You can say this is a good final answer, but it could confuse you when you draw, okay? Because they're saying that negative 6 is less than m, which can feel kind of confusing when you're trying to interpret what that means, okay? So m is bigger than negative 6. So we'll say like we got negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. Should we fill in the circle? No. And which way should the arrow go? To the right. M is bigger than negative 6. Okay, I want you guys to try the first step on number 3. It's got some parentheses in it, so what do you have to do first? Distribute. So we're going to distribute because we got to get rid of those parentheses. So first step, we're going to distribute. We're going to get rid of those parentheses. Then we've got some like terms. You got the 36x and you got the negative 7x. We can combine those. We're going to combine those together. What is it? Mm-hmm. You guys want to move the x's to the right or the left? To the left. So we're going to take the 5x and we're going to figure out how to move it over to the 29x. So go ahead and take a moment, figure out how to get the 5x over to the left side. So we'll get the 5x over to the left side. No, you were right the first time. And then if your x's are on the left side, what should we do with the 42? Move it over to the right side. Get that 42 over to the right side. Got to figure out how to move that 42 over. Don't worry, nobody noticed. How do we move the 42? Subtract. Is it negative 24 when you subtract? Makes sense. All right, and then what do we do? Okay. Is it gonna flip our symbol? No. Why not? You're not dividing by a negative. Yeah. So the 24 over here happened to be negative, but the 24 that we divided by was positive. So we don't have to flip our symbol. So x is less than negative 1. Perfect. Okay. Go ahead and take a moment and draw that answer. What should the drawing of that answer look like? Should the circle be filled in or not filled in? Not filled in. Okay, and then which way should the arrow go? To the left. Okay. Do you guys need one more example, or do you feel like that was good? One more? Okay. Okay. All right, so we have parentheses. What should we do? Distribute to get rid of the parentheses. When we distribute with this, do we have a positive 3 or a negative 3? A negative 3. Okay, so we're distributing a negative 3. Okay. Oh, are you texting me? What happens when you distribute? Okay. So So -3. And then what else do we get? -18. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to copy the -4 down. Oops. Copy this. Okay. And then what should we do? Combine like terms. -7. All right, -7. So we've got the variable and a number, a variable and a number, each side. So we got to figure out which side we want the x's to be on. Do you want them to be all on the left side or all on the right side? Left side. Okay. So the 18x, we got to do the opposite. So we're going to add 18x. Okay, add 18x. So -21, +14, and then we wanted the x to be the only thing that is on that side. So to make the x the only thing, we're getting rid of a -21, +21. Okay, 14x. Okay. Okay. No, I can put it in. Okay, and then how do we draw this one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we fill in the circle or not fill it in? No. Okay, don't fill it in. Arrow goes to the left. Perfect. Okay.